貴様になってこようと虫は虫オーバーエクセイド召喚いでよランク7災い呼ぶレカの竜ハオルゼルオットワイズレイジングドラゴン。
Hey guys, this is Undead. Welcome back to Team 6K, and today we're going to be talking about Odd Eyes. Before we get into the video, be sure to check out our last video, leave a like, leave a comment, and hit that bell to get notified every time we make a new video. And check out our socials. We're trying to build those up while we're building ourselves up here on YouTube. So Odd Eyes got a new structure deck and a new skill, Raging Pendulum. I have to admit that the old version skill, I felt like it was way better than this skill until I tried it out. Just on my initial reading of Raging Pendulum, I felt like it was just a worse version of the other thing, that they accomplished the same thing. It's just that Raging Pendulum didn't protect your Pendulum Summon. And it's true that it doesn't protect your Pendulum Summon. However, it pretty much guarantees that if your Pendulum Summon does get to go off, you're going to be able to go into the ranked Xyz that you want to go into. But what exactly does the skill do? At the beginning of the duel, add Pendulum Zones to your field. The skill can only be used once per duel by revealing an Odd Eyes Raging Dragon and one Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon from your extra deck if you have 2 Performer Pal, Magician, or Odd Eyes cards in your Pendulum Zones. Add 1 of 3 Performer Pal monsters with different names from outside your deck to your hand, and add an Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon and a Magician Pendulum monster from your hand or deck to the extra deck. During this duel, you can treat Xyz monsters you control as level 7 monsters when Xyz summoning Odd Eyes Raging Dragon. So there's a lot to unpack here. First thing, you reveal your Odd Eyes Raging Dragon and your Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. You randomly add 1 of 3 level 4 Performer Power from outside of your deck to your hand. So that's a guaranteed level 4 that you're going to be able to use for a rank 4. Then you add Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon from deck to extra and another Magician Pendulum from deck to extra. So that's 2 cards you're going to be able to put into your extra deck that you can then Pendulum Summon right after. And of course, in our Pendulum Summon, unless we have link arrows pointing to multiple of our zones, we can only Pendulum Summon 1 from the extra deck. So the fact that the skill puts 2 in the extra deck kind of leaves us open to having to make an awkward choice. But it's okay because we have the card Oath Dragon Magician. It's a scale 2 level 6, so we're not really trying to summon this, we're mainly trying to have it as a scale because its level doesn't really help us. And its pendulum effect is that if you have a pendulum card in your other pendulum zone, you can add a face-up Magician or Odd Eyes Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand, except for another copy of itself. What's so good about that? Well, the skill puts 2 in your extra deck, 1 Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon and 1 other Magician Pendulum monster. So you can send your Odd Eyes and whatever other one that you want, depending on the level that you want to use for an Xyz summon, and then use your Oath Dragon to add 1 of them back so you can Pendulum Summon both of them. But there's 2 big weaknesses to this entire game plan, right? The first of which is we need to set up our pendulum scales. We can't activate the skill in the first place unless we get our pendulum scales off in the first place. So we are going to have to build our deck around doing that. And the second thing is, what if we don't have the Oath Dragon Magician? If we don't have it, then we won't be able to get 1 from our extra deck back to our hand for a beneficial Pendulum Summon. And a couple of the cards in this deck really help with that. The main one being Pendulum Call. It's a normal spell that lets you discard 1 card to add 2 Pendulum Magician monsters with different names from your deck to your hand. Also, until the end of your opponent's next turn after this card resolves, Magician cards in your Pendulum Zones cannot be destroyed by card effects, and you can only activate once per turn, and you cannot activate this card if you have activated a Magician's monster's Pendulum effect this turn. So if you have this in your hand, activate it, discard a card, search a Oath Dragon Magician and 1 differently named Magician Pendulum monster. The ones we're usually going to search for is, if we're searching for Oath Dragon, then we're going to search for Dragon Pit Magician. But if we need a level 4 for some reason, or we already have an Oath Dragon Magician, we might search for a Dragon Pulse Magician. So Dragon Pit Magician and Dragon Pulse Magician are both normal monster pendulums that just so happen to fit very perfectly into this deck, because they are Magician Pendulum monsters that are searchable, and because their levels and scales match up perfectly in this deck. Pulse is a scale 1 and Pit is a scale 8. If we have both of them on the field, hypothetically, then we'll be able to easily Pendulum Summon our level 7s and level 4s, which is exactly what this deck is focused around. They also have nice beneficial effects. Pulse allows you to discard a Pendulum monster to target a face-up monster on the field and destroy it, and Pit does the same for back row. Something we can often do with this skill is, if we don't have a way to have 2 level 7s to go into a rank 7, then of course we're going to send the Pendulum because that's normal with the skill, but of course we can also send the Dragon Pit Magician level 7, add 1 of them back with an Oath Dragon, and then we can easily get 2 level 7s on the field. If we need a level 4 though, because we already have enough level 7s, of course we can send a pulse instead with the skill, add that back, and the same thing for rank 4s. But of course we only have 3 copies of Pendulum Call. We can't act as if we're always going to have it, but fear not, there are other search cards in this deck. Performapal Skullcrobat Joker on normal summon can add a Performapal Magician or Odd Eyes monster from deck to hand, except for another copy of itself. So of course this can also search for your Oath Dragon or one of your Dragon Magicians. But the searching goes even further. We also have the Spiral Flame Strike. It's a modal card, so that means it has 2 effects that we have to choose from, one of which is if you control an Odd Eyes card, target a card on the field and destroy it. That's definitely going to come up here and then. But the main effect is add to your hand a level 7 Odd Eyes monster from deck to hand, or a face-up level 7 Odd Eyes Pendulum monster from your extra deck. Of course we are going to be playing the Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, but we don't really need to search it so much because the skill is going to put it in the extra deck for us. That's why we only have 2. Because we're definitely going to use the second, but in order to get access to it, we only technically need 1. The main thing we're going to be searching for is Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon, which is of course another level 7, but is also a scale 8. So if we just so happen to need a scale 8 to allow our Pendulum Summon and to allow our skill to activate, then this is another searchable thing that we can use. If we happen to have everything going well, then of course we can also summon Performapal's second Donkey, which on normal or special summon, you can send a Performapal monster from deck to grave. We don't really want to do that though, but if we have 2 cards in our Pendulum zones, we can add that card to our hand instead of sending it to the grave. So this is really great for allowing us to have a follow-up. It's also really great for allowing us to have a rank 4 when we need it, because if we can Pendulum summon this, right, then search for a Performapal Skullcrobat Joker, normal summon the Joker, search something else for a follow-up, and then go into a rank 4. They can also, technically speaking, go the other way around. We can normal summon Joker, search for second Donkey, Pendulum summon second Donkey, search for the other copy of Joker for the follow-up next turn. Our extra deck is split into 2 pieces, that being the rank 7s and the rank 4s. I'll just go over the rank 4s real quick. It's just all the generic package stuff, just because they're really good as a toolbox. They're good to help you in pretty much any situation. Giant Hand to negate things, Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon to reduce things, also is kind of required to activate the skill. The Pistoler to turn off the opponent's graveyard, Malevolent Sin to help you go for game, and Steel Swarm Roach to shut off opposing Pendulum decks and Synchro decks. And then the rank 7s, we have the main one we're going to be going for is Volothernagus, the Darkest Dragon Doom Rider. It requires 2 level 7s, and once per turn you can detach 2 materials from this card, then target a face-up card on the field, destroy it, and if you destroyed a monster, you can make 1 face-up monster you control gain attack equal to the destroyed monster's original level or rank times 300 until the end of the next turn. This card cannot attack the turn you activate this effect though, but it becomes a quick effect as long as it has a dragon type as material, which of course it will, because it will most likely have Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon as material. So it's a fantastic interruption for the opponent's turn, and it can technically speaking be good at breaking boards as well. Because of the way the skill works, we're going to be able to treat this as if we're a level 7, and Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon 2 to go into Odd Eyes Raging Dragon. It's a rank 7 that requires 2 level 7 dragons, and if you Pendulum Summon level 7, you can Pendulum Summon this card face up in your extra deck. That's pretty cool for recursion, but it's not really going to happen, because if this card is Xyz summoned using an Xyz monster as a material, it gains these effects. First, it can make a second attack during each battle phase, and once per turn you can detach 1 Xyz material from it, destroy as many cards your opponent controls as possible, and if you do, this card gains 200 attack for each until the end of this turn. So you might destroy a card with Volothernagus, then turn it and another monster into Odd Eyes Raging Dragon, destroy the rest of their field, and attack twice. You could also very easily just use Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon and Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon to go into this guy. And to be real with you, Volothernagus on the follow-up turn after going first is often going to be enough to go for game by itself. However, having this available is definitely nice, and even if we didn't want to play it, the skill kind of forces us to play it in order to activate it. And then the last level 7 we play is great for breaking boards, especially boards that have destruction protection like Orchist. Number 11 Big Eye requires 2 level 7 monsters, and once per turn you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, then target a monster your opponent controls, take control of that monster. But this card cannot attack the turn you activate this effect, but it's completely fine because the rest of your monsters can attack anyway. So it's a very simple deck. However, the most important things to learn about this deck are about sequencing, when is the right time to summon what, and what you should do depending on the situations you might find yourself in. So let's just get into the game plan tutorial, shall we? So what you're going to want to see in your opening hand is a Pendulum Call. To be real with you, if you have this in your hand, it doesn't really matter what is in the rest of your hand because you pretty much got everything anyway. Of course, it helps to have more, but Pendulum Call is what you're looking for. However, it's not like it's bad without Pendulum Call, and we'll get into that next game plan tutorial. However, for this one, I'm just going to show you what you can do with a Pendulum Call. So we can activate Pendulum Call, discard a card, right? I'll discard the Spiral Flame Strike to search for Oath Dragon Magician and Dragon Pit Magician. These are pretty much always the cards we're going to search, and if you can help it, then I tend to activate Dragon Pit first, and then Oath Dragon second. Perhaps I have a Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon or a way to search for it, right? So if they Cosmic this, then I can just activate that and have my scale 8 still. I still want to have my Oath Dragon Magician though, so I'll activate the Oath Dragon Magician. It says we can Pendulum Summon, but before we do that, we get to activate the skill Raging Pendulum. So we activate that, we reveal the Raging Dragon and the Rebellion Dragon from my extra deck, and we can put an Odd Eyes into our extra deck face up and any other Pendulum Magician from our deck. So I'm going to put a Dragon Pulse Magician there. However, if we did not yet have access to another level 7, then we would try to put a level 7 there so we can guarantee that we can go into a level 7. That's pretty much how we're going to choose the second thing that we send, is based on what we can do with what we already have. If we can already make a rank 7, then we send a level 4. If we can already make a rank 4, then we can send a level 7. And if we can already do both, then it doesn't really matter what we send, does it? So I'll send the level 4 here. Oath Dragon, since I do control a magician as my other scale, I can activate its effect to add one of them back to my hand. I'll add Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon back, and then we can Pendulum Summon. I'll Pendulum Summon the level 4, the Odd Eyes, and whatever others we have. So we already have a 4 and a 7 going on, so might as well put a 7 and a 4, so we have 2 4s and 2 7s, right? And then very simple, if we happen to be going first, then we can go into the rank 4 of our choice. Going second, we can also do the same thing. Giant Hand happens to be good going first and going second, because you can go into Giant Hand, then go into one of your other Xyz that can help break the opponent's board. And if they have any monster-based interruptions that would negate you breaking their board, then Giant Hand can negate that so that you breaking their board succeed. However, often you're going to be going into Malevolence in anyway just to get something out of the way so you can go in for game. But if we're going first, of course, then we go for Giant Hand, Abyss Dweller, or Steel Swarm Roach. And these are, of course, going to depend what you feel the opponent might be playing, which one you feel is going to be best against the deck that they play. And you're going to guess that by looking at their character and judging based on what deck is most popular on that character, and seeing which of these rank 4s would be most beneficial against that deck. For our rank 7s, if we're going first, we go for Volafernagus, Beneficial Interruption, of course. If we're going second, we might still go into it. Hypothetically, let's say the opponent has a spell that for some reason we want to get rid of. We can use 2 level 7s to go into it, detach both materials from Volafernagus to destroy whatever they have. And then from there, we can use our remaining 2 monsters to go into Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, then use these 2 monsters to go into Odd Eyes Raging Dragon. And of course, like I said before, you can just use Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon and Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon to go into this guy. However, do keep in mind that you can go into the Volafernagus first and then use both of them to go into the Raging. And then it's easy GG's because Raging Dragon can destroy the whole field and attack twice. The thing is though, we're not always going to have Pendulum Call, and that's okay. We are usually going to have Pendulum Call. We do play 3 copies of it at the end of the day, but if we had to rely on the card, then we probably shouldn't play the deck, right? We should probably play the other version. Well, the deck is consistent even if it doesn't draw Pendulum Call. You see, the whole deck is full of searchable cards, and if we don't have the card that searches for them, well, we probably have the cards that are being searched themselves. But if you don't have Pendulum Call, what you're going to need in your hand is some way to have a level 7 and a level 4, and some way to get your scales on the field anyway. So of course, Oath Dragon Magician is one of the best low scales to have, but if it isn't the low scale you have access to, that's completely fine. I happen to have the Oath Dragon Magician here. This is great for me. And I have 2 level 4s in my hand. One of them happens to be a scale 1, so it doesn't work well with the Oath Dragon. One of them happens to be a scale 8, so could work well with the Oath Dragon. And then we also have a Spiral Frame Strike, which could represent the high scale, but it could also represent a level 7. Since we don't already have a level 7 in my hand, I'm going to use it just to have that level 7 in my hand. So I'm going to get that into my hand and use the Skull Crobat Joker as a scale rather than as a normal summon search. And then I'm going to activate the skill, reveal 2 Xyz from my extra deck, put the Odd Eyes there, and then I already have a 7 here, I already have 4s, And to be real, the Oath Dragon can't add something back anyway because the other scale has to be a magician. This one isn't a magician, so if it could add something back, it won't. So, you know, might as well send something that I haven't used yet. Gonna be the Dragon Pit potentially, but I can still Pendulum Summon 4 because my hand is all monsters. So I'll Pendulum Summon the Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, Arc Rebellion, Dragon Pulse, Camelump. And of course, now we have 2 level 4s, 2 level 7s. We can do what we always do, which is go into the Volothernigus and go into whatever rank 4 we choose for the given scenario. We pretty much just made the same board without even having to have Pendulum Call. The deck is very consistent. I have to point out that every now and then your hand isn't going to give you much of a choice. You're going to have to either only do a rank 7 or only do a rank 4. However, there are going to be some hands that you can do more. And of course, that's variance. Every deck has some amount of variance in it, but the majority of the time you're going to get one rank 7 and one rank 4. Some hands you're going to have a choice between the two, but we don't judge a deck by its 10%. We usually judge it by its 90%, you know what I mean? But the deck is very simple. All you need is 3 of the new Odd Eyes structure deck and 3 of the old Pendulum Magician structure deck, and also a way to get Spiral Flame Strike, and of course I guess also all of these Xyzs, right? So I guess it's a little bit less cheap than I imagined it was, but hey, it's not the most expensive deck in the world, right? Most of these extra deck cards are staples anyway. But if you didn't have a way to get the Spiral Flame Strike, you could definitely play more Dragon Pulse, play more Dragon Pit, potentially play more Arc Pendulum Dragon, maybe even play more Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon itself. But yeah, deck's very consistent, and in my personal opinion, I do think it is the way to play Odd Eyes moving forward. So let's get into the replay, shall we? So my opponent is setting 2 back row and passing. So normally you'd think, well, this is a brick, but he felt pretty confident when he set those 2 back row. The timing was very swift. I feel like he's actually trying to stall me for a turn, and because of that, I kind of feel like he has a Kiteroid in his hand. So we'll see what I do about that in a second here. So I am going to activate Pendulum Call. Lucky top deck, I know. I discard one of my 2 copies of Skullcrobat Joker, of course. Search the same ones I always search. He Cosmic Cyclones my Dragon Pit. That's great for him. But I'm going to Skullcrobat. I'm trying to search for another scale here. He's going to book it. He didn't really need to do that, but he is trying to keep his life points intact. Even more reason to believe that he's got a Kiteroid or a Battling Box of Veil in his hand, because he doesn't really care what he's booking, I guess. He just doesn't want to die. So I'm able to get another Dragon Pit, and I activate it. Then I can activate the skill, reveal the Xyz from my deck, and put a Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon and a Dragon Pulse Magician in my extra deck. So then I can add it back with the Oath Dragon, Pendulum Summon 3 monsters, Pulse, Odd Eyes, and other Odd Eyes. And I'm not going to Xyz summon because, you know, reading the Kiteroid there, I feel like it would be better to chew through that Kiteroid, make sure he doesn't have it next turn, and to put up an interruption that might not even work. So it turns out he's playing Crusadia, and the way that I've built my board up here is not going to be good for him, because the only monster he's going to be able to point to has 1800 defense but is in face down position, so he's not going to be boosted by that much. So he's just going to do his Crusadia combos here. He's doing a lot, he's doing too much, to be real with you. Finally, he gets to this part, and he attacks into me but can't do lethal damage. I still have 400 because of my zone placement here. So I'm going to be good. I'm going to be able to bait him out here. I'm going to go into Volothernigus, try to get rid of the protection from his grave. He, uses that protection from his grave. The Oath Dragon's going to add back level 4. I'm going to go into Sin to try to bait out that negate from the Equimax, and he negates it, of course, as he should. Then I'm going to Pendulum Summon because I haven't summoned yet. And from here, he's just going to scoop it up because, of course, I'm about to go even further. So my opponent is playing, first of all, I'm going first, but I'm still talking about what my opponent's doing here, just to kind of give a little bit of context to what I do. The opponent's playing a Shizu, and a Shizu isn't known particularly for any given decks. However, she activates the skill Prescience and also has a bigger than 20 card deck, leading me to believe that she's probably playing Block Dragon. So that's why I go for what I go for here. So I'm going to search for my Odd Eyes, then I use this. Then I go at Oath Dragon, set my other scale. I can activate my skill now, show my 2 Xyzs, send the Odd Eyes and the Dragon Pit. I'll add back the Odd Eyes, then I can Pendulum Summon 3, Dragon Pit, Odd Eyes, and the other level 4 Performer Pal, go into Volothernigus and go into Abyss Dweller. It just so happens that the skill randomly gave me the water performer pal, so my Abyss Dweller gets to be buffed, so that's pretty cool. It turns out the opponent is playing some kind of mill deck, like Block Dragon, so I'm going to use Abyss Dweller, so we can't use their grave effects anymore. Unfortunate for them, but that's how it goes. I'm going to destroy his Raiden, and yeah, it's enough. That's what having 2 interruptions does against a lot of decks, these formats. Alright, I'm going first here, and I have the Pendulum Call. Great for me. I get to discard my Dragon Pulse, because of course I'm not going to need it. So I search the Oath Dragon and another copy of the Dragon Pit, because of course I do like having another level 7 in my hand. I'm going to activate my scales, activate my skill, show both of my XCs, and then set an Odd Eyes and a level 4, because I need one. The other one, right? So Oath Dragon's going to add back my Odd Eyes, then I'll Pendulum Summon 4 monsters. The Pit, the Pulse, the Dragon, and my Performer Pal. Then I'll be able to go into the Steel Swarm Roach, because obviously my opponent is playing Resonators because they're playing Jack Atlas. Then I'll go into Volothernagus, normal summon my Performer Pal Skullcrobat Joker, search another Odd Eyes. What I could have done instead of searching for that Odd Eyes is I could have searched for a second Donkey, which on my follow-up I could have Pendulum Summoned, searched for a Skullcrobat, and then searched for an Odd Eyes. However, I wouldn't have been able to Pendulum Summon the Odd Eyes if I did that, because I would have already used my Pendulum Summon, right? So that's why I searched for the Odd Eyes itself, to have a follow-up play. So he's going to Book of Moon, the Roach, showing that he definitely is a Synchro deck. So yes, he is Resonators, right? He's going to normal summon Red Sprinter, and he scoops here. It's because I was in the middle of chaining Volothernagus to destroy his tuner, and if I destroy his tuner, really, that was GG's. Guys, I gotta tell you, it is getting harder and harder to get replays for you guys, because everybody keeps scooping against these new decks. Konami keeps printing decks that can put up more than 1 interruption consistently, and really, more than 1 interruption, especially when one of those interruptions is something as busted as Steel Swarm Roach or Abyss Dweller, that's enough to make people scoop by itself if they don't have an out for it. So that's how good this deck is, that you can pretty much always guarantee that you're going to have a rank 4 and a rank 7. But guys, let me know how you feel about Odd Eyes in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about the old skill or the new skill. If you have any questions about how the deck operates, be sure to leave them in the comments below and we'll talk about it. If you like the video, subscribe if you're new around here, hit the bell to get notified every time we make a new video. And I've been Undead from Team 6K, signing out.
Wait, hey, I feel like the greatest. Now I feel like they hate it. Now I feel like the only one and there is no debating. Man, I feel like they leaving. Now I feel like they waited. Now I feel like this is the feeling before I can make it. Before I hit the stage, I just feel like I'm nauseous. Or I feel like I'm popping. Or I feel like a boss is. Maybe I'm feeling off it. Or I feel like I'm toxic. Maybe feeling intoxicated is the reason for all this. I want to whip it with the top down, dog, like I'm Earth Gang. Told him, listen, Wild Day shine like my first name. Told me go and grab a titty boy, it's my first chain. I ain't even switch gears yet, it's the first lane. The first pain I ever felt was the worst pain. And church came, and that feeling of hurt came. And her name made this feeling all worth pain. She made me realize what I had felt in the first place.